Start with the medical expense tab by adding medical providers. As usual in the grid, you can click the add button here, and also on this particular tab you can also hit the edit medical providers button down here. It's the same thing. If we hit the add button, we see a list of the global medical providers. Global means that if you've stored this file correctly on your server, all of your doctors will be available to all of the other users in your office and their CaseWORTH files. You can see a list of doctors and clinics along the side, and as you highlight one, you have an area to edit the information about that particular guy over here. There's a couple of ways to search. The filter is the easiest way to find things. If I'm looking for all hospitals, I can just type any piece of any word in any field and it will chop down the list. Let's pick up Lawrence Christopher here and show the entire list again and hit Tad's Pharmacy and just pick those two up. Hit the video help button here and watch the video for more information on how to use the medical providers dialog. When you've picked the doctors by hitting a check in the check box here next to each doctor you want, when you've picked them, go ahead and hit OK. Each doctor, each medical provider has, of course, a name. There's an interest checkbox. This has nothing to do with a money interest or a percentage. This has to do with you want to protect this particular doctor's interest because he's been very helpful to you in this case or other cases. So you want to make sure that you get this guy paid. This is just a flag for, this is the law firm's friend. You also have a place to put in medical provider liens. Say Lawrence Christopher filed a lien against the settlement on this case. This is the add button, so you can add a lien in this liens column by simply clicking the add button and putting in the amount of the lien, say $2,500. You can also, with the add button next to the lien lines here, you can hit the add button and say that on 2/17/2005 he filed the first lien filing. You also have a place that you can scan in and attach a copy of that paper lien if you'd like. If that lien expires and some months later he comes back and files another lien, you can simply come in here and add another lien filing date and adjust the total of the current lien if necessary. Once you file the lien, once a medical provider has filed a lien, you actually see a view and a delete button. If you hit the view button, of course, it just brings this back up. If you hit the delete button, it says, do you really want to delete the liens data? If you say yes, then it's gone. We'll come back to the negotiation chat box after we have some statements in there. You have a description for this medical provider. They might be a pharmacy or a hospital or a surgeon. Again, this information comes out of the medical provider's information in the list of medical providers and is global to all of your CaseWORTH cases. Then each medical provider has the total billed, the amount that's been paid to him, and the total that's still due to him. All of those totals, as you know, carry up to the gray area, the totals area, and then the total billed by all doctors goes up to the medical expense button. Let's expand Dr. Christopher here and see that you always start with one statement when you add a doctor. That statement is empty right now. There are no payments, no service dates, and the amount billed is 0. I can come in and put in a statement date. I can put in a statement number if I want to. I don't have to. I can put in a description if I want to. I do not have to. And the amount billed, of course, you do want to put that in. Let's say $5,000. Notice how the $5,000 rolls up to Lawrence Christopher's line and rolls up to the gray totals area and the button. If I want to add another statement, I simply click the add button on the next to the statement line, the statement header, and I get another statement. We'll call this one and not give a description, and we'll put this one at $761.12. Once again, the math is done for you. Within each individual statement, you have the ability to add payments. So let's add a payment on this $5,000 statement. Again, as usual, hit the add button next to the header row, and you can say what date the payment was made, and the claimant is always there as a potential subrogation source, as someone who may have made a payment towards this doctor, maybe a copay or whatever. So for simplicity's sake, let's leave it as the claimant for right now. And you can put in a remittance number. This is a check number if you want. It could be whatever you want it to be. You don't have to put anything at all if you don't want to. Also, same story. You can put in a description on the payment if you want. You don't have to if you don't want to. Adjustments we'll talk about in a second. And of course, the amount paid is, let's say, $50 copay that this claimant had. So now you see that on this statement, $50 has been paid, leaving $49.50 due. $50 has been paid to this doctor, leaving $67.11.12 due, and etc. Let's add another payment by hitting the Add button again. And this time, let's tab over here and hit the down arrow. Now you can do it with the mouse, or you can hit the down arrow on the keyboard, or you can just hit the A for Add Subrosource. And you want to add another subrogation source that maybe is working in this case. When you tab out of this field, if you have Add Subrosource selected and you tab out of this field, you'll get the list of subrogation sources. Now this is case specific. It's not global like the medical providers, meaning that these subrosources only apply to this case. Although you will always have Medicaid, Medicare, and workers' comp already in there for you just for your convenience. But we do not have the addresses put in, so you can put in different addresses for each office that you might be working with. So let's say that Medicaid is involved in this particular case. So we're going to say OK, and we have Medicaid. We don't put a check number this time, and let's say that they paid $1,500. Again, all the totals adjust. Let's add one more payment. Let's say that, again, hit the A for the Add and Tab. And let's come up here in the header row of our list of subrogation sources and hit the Add button here. I can also hit Add Subrogation Source here to add another subrosource. Here I want to put in my organization is Blue Cross Blue Shield, and you can fill in the various other information, contact information, the address, etc. As usual, there's a video help button down here if you want to look at more information about how this subrosource dialog works. Once again, you can put in a remittance number if you want. You can put in a payment description if you want. We're going to say that there was a CAT scan and that Blue Cross paid $600 towards this CAT scan. And we're also going to say that Blue Cross, hit B for Blue Cross, tab, disallowed $200 on CAT scan. So $200. Now what this disallowed means is that if you check this adjustment, basically this $200 still comes out of Dr. Christopher's pocket, but Blue Cross says you're a member of our network and we only pay $600 for CAT scans and you billed $800. So we'll pay you $600, but we're going to adjust your bill for the amount of $200. Now let's talk about service dates. Each statement has the ability to hold one or more service dates, just like it can hold one or more payments. Service dates are what service did the medical provider provide to this claimant on what day and how much did he charge for it. Right now you can see that we have this $5,000 on the statement, and of that statement we haven't assigned any of that $5,000, so all that $5,000 remains unassigned. If we want to, and this is an optional thing, if we want to, we can go into the service date, hit Add, and you can choose from diagnostic, treatment, or pharmaceutical expense. So let's say that there was a diagnostic expense and it was that CAT scan. And he charged $800 for it. Now that leaves $4,200 unassigned on this bill, and it also kind of offsets this $600, $200 payment and adjustment you see down here. If that's all you want to call out on this particular statement, if this CAT scan is all that's legally significant in your case, then that's all you have to put in. If the other $4,200 is room fees and aspirin and rubber gloves, then there's not much reason to enter that information. If, though, on 1/4 they went on, hit T for treatment, to do some surgery on his brain for the cost of $3,600, which is a bargain, then you probably want to put that in there. Notice that now we have still $5,000 here, all our payments remain what they were, and we see that of the $5,000 there are $600 unassigned. Now, to simplify things a little bit, I'm going to delete this other statement so that this particular doctor is just $5,000. Then we'll go look at the damage summary, and you can see that Lawrence Christopher has $3,600 in treatment expenses, $800 in diagnostic expenses, and $600 unassigned, for a total of $5,000. If we go back in and add another statement, say for another $1,000, all that $1,000 is unassigned, so if we go back to the damage summary, we see $1,600 now unassigned for Dr. Christopher. This is a very powerful tool to help you pull together all the details in a case where you need these kind of details. If you don't need these kind of details, don't put them in. Tad's Pharmacy, for example, you have a statement, you can put in $50 and put another statement in, put in $60 and say this one was for pain meds and this one was for a neck brace. That's all you have to do if that's all you want to do. You don't even have to put in the details on the statements themselves. You can just put in the amounts. I've even got some clients who will choose to, I'm going to collapse this all up. By the way, if this gets to be overwhelming for you, because there is a lot of information on this screen, once you understand where everything goes, it will make sense. But if it gets overwhelming for you to look at, just hit the collapse all button. Super simple. You can see that Tad's billed $110, St. John's is billed $6,000, and Johnson Radiology hasn't billed any yet. We can expand Johnson Radiology. I've got, again, some clients who say I get the first bill in from the doctor and it was $450, and that's all I put. And then 2 months later they come in with another $150 bill. So I just come back in here and make this $600, and I just keep adjusting this without putting any details in there at all. You still should put in payments, because if you don't, the amount due won't work out, and therefore your settlement calculator won't work out. But all this other detail is totally optional. One other thing you can do while we're talking about statements is hit the Add View button and go out and grab a scanned document. Now, you can use your office copier scanner device to scan these documents and stick them in a folder. Here we have the Ronald Smith case folder, and we've got all these scanned documents and the CaseWORTH file right here inside the Ronald Smith folder. What I really recommend you do, and of course this is on your file server, what I really recommend you do is just scan these to a folder called Meds, or call it CaseWORTH, and put all those documents inside that CaseWORTH folder. Put it all together though so that it's easy and transportable. Let's just pretend that this Griffin Anesthesiology Associates bill is actually the statement from Johnson Radiology, and then you see that we have an Add View, and as you know, if we hit the View button, whatever viewer you have on your system will open up and display the document. Back to what you have on the medical provider row, we talked about this negotiation. Here, Lawrence Christopher has billed $6,000. He's already been paid $2,300. He's still due $3,650. You may come back and talk to Lawrence Christopher at the end of the case and say, Lori might talk to Lawrence Christopher or his secretary, Sue, who agreed to take 50%. And then over here we can simply put in 50 and %, and it will automatically strike through the amount due and put in the adjusted or negotiated amount. Instead of putting in 50%, you could also put in $500, and it will say that's 14%. So that's how the negotiations work. You can enter negotiations for the doctor here, or you can enter them directly on the Expenses Liens Due tab. One more tip a client recently gave us: if you're doing some heads down data entry on service dates, you have a case where you want to put in a lot of service date information on this particular statement, you can go in and of course put in your date, put in your description, whatever that might be, put in your amount, And when you hit tab, it takes you back up to it takes you down to the next record, which would be, in this case, up to the top. Then you have to grab your mouse and hit the add button again. What she suggested is you actually just click the add button a few times, and then you can just tab through, selecting and putting in amounts. As far as you want to go through it. Of course, you can just delete these off. Delete, enter, delete, enter, delete, enter when you're done, and you see that you can quickly enter these service days. The coverage limits field down here automatically calculates what percentage you are, as far as the total bill is concerned, from the limits that this person may have on their insurance. So say that this particular person has a $15,000 limit on their insurance, or their various places to hit the insurance, and you can see that that's at 6710 you're now at 44%. If you bump this down to below 50%, or I'm sorry, more than 50%, the text turns red to indicate to you that you might want to go ahead and request the limits. Finally, the print button on the medical expenses tab works like most of the others. You have an expand all and a collapse all, and a use current expand collapse settings from the screen. Well, what that means is if you hit collapse all in your report, it's going to give you just this much information. If you hit expand all, it's going to give you all the information with all the detail in the report. If you say, I only want to see the details on this second statement on Lawrence Christopher, but not the first one, and I don't care about the details on Johnson Radiology or Tad's Pharmacy, if you hit print and say use current expand collapse settings, it will actually show you exactly the detail that you have on the screen. You always have to choose your licensed attorney, whichever attorney is working this case, and the report appears showing the summary for Johnson Radiology and Tad's Pharmacy, and shows the detail for the second statement on Lawrence Christopher. To watch the CaseWORTH overview video and find other videos and training resources, select Getting Started with CaseWORTH from the Help menu. Also, please visit our website at www.caseworth.com or contact